Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Owlet Losers Finals for Season 3.9. It's Meow Wegion versus the Council of Anime Girls. I'm Corbeck, joined here in the production booth by Acronator, with Joey handling our production for the evening. And Acronator, this promises to be an exciting matchup, if not a bit of a slow starting one.
Yeah, definitely. This is the third time these teams have faced off against each other. The first time Council of Anime Girls took it rather demandingly, and last time, previously in the playoffs in the upper bracket, Meow Wegion created a bit of an upset and took it to Council of Anime Girls. Managed to take it with the 3-0. Sorry, it looks like we're having some chat and match chat, so I got distracted. But regardless, this promises to be a rather interesting game. We have a few last-minute swaps in the lobby, but I think we're all good. we're getting there.
Yeah. Last-minute substitution of Reed, I think, getting thrown into the lineup there for Coag, or the Council of Anime Girls will be shortening to Coad, just because saying Council of Anime Girls over and over again probably give me some sort of aneurysm. If I have to do that with Wegion all night long, I don't know that I'll survive Acronator, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, these teams love to make the casters work for it. Sure enough, we're on Lijiang Tower here. Night Market to start. So, unsurprisingly, we're seeing the Symmetra is really going to be dependent on which team can get to the point first in perfect unison. So now it's based on who can brawl better.
Well, synchronized teleporting right there, but the fight already boiling. They're looking for the opportunity to get an opening pick. Both sides not really having any joy on that. The Coag kind of stuck at the doorway. Meanwhile, forcing to rotate back towards the balcony. Good wall coming up right there. That'll trap Hudson off. They'll push forward straight into it. Reed swinging away will not get Hudson down. Hudson finally traded out, but Blackman and Mushroom go down almost immediately thereafter, just not able to sustain those Symmetra beams cooking on point. The Immort is invested here by Clown Dog 500, and the barrier as well. The Shatter comes out over the top through the barrier, and they will continue this fight apace here. Hudson is back in, and a window has been deployed as well. Mayit throwing that one in. But at the end of the day, that was a crazy fight, Acronator. A lot invested there for the initial take.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't expecting those teams to pop out ultimates, especially after the May wall came out from Hawk. That was honestly a battle of two Symmetras, in all honesty, because both Kartik and Hawk were just doing an insane amount of damage all at once, microwaving everyone down, and eventually the ultimate started to come in. You had a nice shatter from Reed, which opened everything up.
Barrier and teleporter going in again. May wall coming out this time, traps the May in there. The Blizzard comes out now on the point, and that'll catch Reed looking. Reed will go down. The sound barrier invested here as well. The Wegion just surging forward, trying to dominate the point with bodies and HP. And it looks like they'll almost manage it. Diva going in for a last-minute touch, but Blackman, not really going to survive that. Never mind. They're investing the Blizzard back. I was just about to turn it over to poor Acronator, but the fight not over yet. And actually, there in the corner, Misled Elf did throw up the wall and try and survive, but it looks like it is finally over, and the defenders will hold.
This is honestly getting rather interesting. I'm noticing that there's a big difference in the tank lines here, especially Swanky Pants on the Orisa as opposed to Blackman on the Diva. And I think that's sort of a big problem for Meow Wegion at the moment, is that the Orisa has a lot of utility to stay anchored into one point, but Blackman is doing a great job of taking away a lot of the spam damage coming in. So you're seeing Council of Anime Girls not taking that much damage overall.
Well, all sorts of ultimates coming out here. Windows, Immortality Field was committed. Sound Barrier was invested here as well. You saw the beatdown bongo at the start of the fight coming out from Wegion. Wegion now pushing forward. Bob Guy will go down first. Shatter comes in. It's not bad. Blackman is pinned into a wall and demeched almost immediately. On the backside, they'll clean up Mushroom as well. Kartik goes down with the tray, but it does look like everything's falling in favor of Wegion at the moment as Reed is knocked out of the fight. Omega getting lost there. There's still a healing presence, though. That'll be Mayit, and they will finally turn it around.
Yeah, it didn't actually take too many ultimates as well. Really just took Hudson's Shatter. So for the most part, they're looking pretty good for this upcoming fight. They're going to have the Blizzard from Misled Elf. On the other side of things, they're going to have Council of Anime Girls having their Bomb, as well as their Symmetra wall. Reed coming up onto his Shatter soon enough. And interestingly enough, neither of these teams have really done anything about the Shatters. They both just kind of tanked them and lost at least part of those fights coming in.
Oh, Bomb, Blizzard, Barrier, everything being thrown out of the point. An absolute ult fiesta in there. Reed does get frozen out, barely saved by the Immortality Field. It won't be for long, though. Will go down. Now the High Noon being invested. Kartik does get one, but Hawk and the turrets there. There's your new band name. Hawk on the Turret's cleaning up across the point, pushing back in on Misled Elf. Take him out of the equation as well. That'll just leave one McCree on the backside, and they will resecure and probably should win.
Probably. You'll get a quick touch here, but I'm not sure how long this is going to last overall.
Heroic, but ultimately misled. Now we say that, and Swanky Pants drops in as well on the Diva Mech. I don't think anybody else is going to... Oh, no, they're still going. Omega touch right there. Misled Elf could get in. His body blocked by the Diva briefly, but the Tracer will get on, forced to teleport back. How Maywalled off the back of the map. Can't get in through the door. That was actually a pretty heads-up play there from Bob's guy to throw that wall up.
Yeah, that's honestly what differentiates the good Mei players from the great Mei players. I mean, anyone can pick up the Ice Demon herself, but wall placement is really the min-maxing that you have to do at that level. Control Center now, the next round, so this is going to be very heavily Brawl-esque as opposed to a more bunker-friendly composition on Night Market that we just saw. Symmetra probably still going to be a mainstay here, but now you're going to see more than likely the Junkrat stick on both of these sides. Blackman sticking onto the Diva for more damage denial with the defense matrix as opposed to Swanky Pants just going for the pure bubble damage goodness that you'd expect from a Brawl competition. Otherwise, it's basically mirror comps. So a lot of close range action coming up very soon.
And straight into the Brawl in the server room, as is tradition here on Control Center. They will exchange hammers there in the front line, but nobody going down just quite yet. Fire Strikes also exchanged right there as well. Number of team members going low on both sides, but again, nobody really brought down. Hudson kind of early and on has cleared space here for the team. The barrier getting dangerously low, but it'll be Bob Guy who's caught out by the spam first. Hudson now pushing forward. Swanky pocket there. On the side of their Reinhardt, and they should be able to take this with not too much fuss.
Yeah, for the most part, the ult economy is relatively even. You do have Clown Dog getting his Baptiste Matrix just a little bit before Mayit, but otherwise they both have it coming into this next fight. And the main difference I'm noticing is right now Swanky Pants is a lot closer to his Graviton as opposed to Blackman's Bomb.
Oh, Window coming out here, Barrier following it up as well. The Window almost an afterthought. They will just peel right back to the point. The Wegion doesn't want to take that fight anywhere near that. Tire being invested here by Coag as well, but it's Omega who dies first. The Tire still on the hunt, going in for the back line, gets two. Mate and Kartik both taken down, and Hudson follows them quickly into the grave, and the point is flipped.
However, if you're Meow Wegion, you don't want to be too saddened by that loss because you have a good amount of ultimates coming into this next fight, almost 6 essentially. It's going to take a little, about 30 seconds, you know, for them to get all 6, and they really don't need all 6 to take this point if they play it right. They do need to be careful of Reed's Shatter, but otherwise, they have a lot of potential here to retake point quickly.
There comes out, teleported in the back, Kartik with the cute little play there with Misled Elf, and it does wonders, blowing things open right there. Reed gets taken down as well. Here comes the rest of the bodies for Wegion, and they'll take that in a rather finesse style right there. Don't see that very often.
No, actually, last time I saw that was Meow Wegion much earlier this season, and they're the only people I've ever seen try that combo. It works so well, but it takes a lot of coordination, as you can expect. You need to be able to get the Tire in very quickly before they realize there's a Symmetra teleporter in their backline. But I would expect to see probably Graviton Surge as well as probably Clown Dog's Baptiste Matrix. Yeah, there we go.
Grass comes in, Window comes in. Window was thrown out there as well. We won't talk about that. Maybe a little bit misplaced on the side of Mayit, but Mayit is dead. Swanky Pants there trying to trade back some kills, but a teleporting Junkrat Bob Guy in the back, and that charge by Reed just smacks Hudson right into the pillar. And they will take it back and forth, really, Acronator. No side really giving much ground.
Yeah, I think both of these teams are relatively comfortable on this Brawl composition, and it's really just coming down to who's getting the most value out of their ultimates. You know, you're seeing some Shatters with, whereas some Grabs doing really well. But it's really going back and forth enough where I can't say who has the advantage at the moment.
The barrier will be used there to escort the Wegion forward as Tire comes ripping in on the back side, looking for something, finds nothing. Diva Bomb goes up, Swanky Pants is down. Bob Guy did get hit by that Tire, so one of the Junkrats is out of this mesh. The fight's still going. The Symmetra is beaming one another down. It's Misled Elf who will emerge victorious in the midst of that fight. Good shatter, big shatter by Reed, and he'll swing right into it there. Hudson peeling back to try and protect the team is knocked into the dirt. Misled Elf, the only member from Wegion still fighting this one out, and that is done and dusted.
Yeah, now we're getting into one fight territory for Council of Anime Girls, so while Wegion does have some ultimates inability to retake this point. They're going to have to do it rather quickly because they don't have very much time to work with.
Well, window coming out here from Wegion. Wegion just putting pressure in. The tire coming in. It's destroyed. Kartik there on the heads-up play. Clown Dog's Immortality Field is taken out as well. And snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. Wegion will hold on to the point.
Crucially, with really only one ultimate used there. No, actually two ultimates. I think Kartik had just used the tire. But regardless, they have quite a few coming up. It's crucially Hudson Shatter, which, like I said, on Night Market, neither of these teams have really done anything about the Shatters aside from eat them with their faces, which is not exactly what you want to do with Shatters. So this Shatter from Hudson could be big.
Well, the Fire Strike through the gate will get nothing. Barrier coming out here. They will fight on the left side of that. Hudson does throw the Shatter in. It is big. With the Immortality Field, I think denying a lot of the value to be had out of that. Sound Barrier was thrown in there as well by Mushroom, just trying to keep the team alive in the fight. And Hudson, despite the great play, will go down early on. Now the Barrier coming out from the other side. Grab is invested. 2 squishies in it. Swanky Pants, more than happy to clear those kills, is traded out almost immediately by the other off-tank, though. Blattman is there. Now a tire just rolling around the point takes Blattman down, and they will push this on to a stage 3 in kind of a wacky final fight.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping the rest of the series is as close as that, because that was a really interesting round. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot more than you normally see.
It was interesting to me. I felt like neither team could really establish that dominance of kind of the foyer or the lobby or whatever that usually happens on that map. You know, when one team gets a decisive victory, they'll just push up and start spamming the door, and it's really hard to get back in. But neither of these teams really able to establish that dominance.
Yeah, both Junkrats surprisingly weren't so much going for area denial, which you'd normally expect. In that case, they were more so going for flank kills, which it was working, but it was creating a lot of openings and a lack of pressure on the front line. I think that's part of why both of these teams had trouble sort of defending the early choke points. Seeing symmetric teleporter strats, however, Wegion is the only one to keep the symmetric for the time being.
They will engage immediately in White Room here. Immortality Field invested earlier by Mageet. They will throw out the Immortality Field on the other side as well. Clown Dog 500 doing their best to keep their team up. Neither Immortality Field lasted very long, but the initial brush of conflict here not favoring Wegion. The rotate now coming out from Coag. They'll back up onto the point there, force Wegion to come into them and get an early point cap here as well, and they sure will. Hudson right at the doorway, just trying to knock their way in with a hammer. What a big shatter by Reed! The window went out there, but they get almost nothing out of it. The only kill was the tank. Reed had done such a great job on that impactful play. The fight's still going a little bit here, but no, it's just cleanup phase now.
Yeah, you do have Omega probably just staggering himself onto point. Yeah, they're just getting out at this point. No shame in that one, because taking any longer probably would have been worse. However, Omega is going to have that beat. Misled, I wouldn't be shocked if they swap off of the Symmetra, just because it's so hard to take points as the Symmetra, but it looks like they're sticking with it just for the time being, probably because they're so close to the Symmetra wall, and that could help them push into points and not have to worry about something like the High Noon or the window for the time being. But otherwise, you do have the High Noon, the window from Council of Anime Girls to use almost immediately.
Oh, they'll push right through it. The Sound Barrier coming out, the big barrier coming out there as well. Immortality Field already invested here early on, destroyed almost immediately. Kartik does go down, but so does Reed, so the trade does come in. The Sound Barrier invested now on the side of Mushroom. Mushroom just trying to keep the team in the fight. They'll be getting pushed forward, but it's a big shatter on the other side. Bomb following it up. They don't even need the bomb right there because the kill feed lights up bright blue, and Wegion takes the point back.
You know, I'm starting to realize that these Reinhardts in this series both have a really good eye for finding the opening, threading the needle as it were, but neither of them are particularly good at shield management and noticing when their opponent's about to shatter, so both teams are spending a lot of time on their backs, which I'm sure they would rather not. So I think as the series progresses, the Reinhardt that begins to block the other shatters more often is probably going to lead to a closer victory.
Oh, Bomb comes sailing in behind. Mayeet's out, but it's Bomb Guy who drops in with the Death Blossom and swings 4 kills. And that is as about a decisive statement with the Death Blossom as you can make in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. It did cost Coag about 3 ultimates, but then again, they're coming up on their Baptiste Matrix and their High Noon once again, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. Again, Misled Elf sticking onto that Symmetra. I guess they like the pick for the time being. They are coming up onto the wall again, and Kartik is coming up onto the Death Blossom, so I'd expect to see that rather soon.
High Noon was invested right there by Hawk to no value. Dueling windows going down. Windows all over the place at the moment. Shots being exchanged through them, but not a ton of damage coming through either. Those amplification matrix. You see the two Reinhardt pinning out there as Kartik drops in with the Death Blossom of their own. The kills starting to stack up now in favor of Wegion, and Wegion will wrest the point back in this neck-and-neck fight.
Yeah, however, Council of Anime Girls really just needs one more clean fight, and they take Lijiang, which is going to put them up 1-0 in the series, which I'm sure Meow doesn't want. So they're going to have a perfect defense from here on out if they don't want to just stagger in, desperately trying to regain control of the point. But they do have more ultimates for the time being. Hudson has that.
Threw it out there against Blatman. Blatman does get destroyed almost immediately. Omega contributing as well with a little bit of the boop action in there, and Omega actually cleans up one more. The Lucio putting in some work with the blaster.
Worth noting that Omega is usually the flex support. I believe Maid is a ringer, if not just a substitute.
Yes.
So Omega on a bit of an off roll here for the time being. Still within the same family, still support, but they're usually the one on the Baptiste or the Ana, for example. So doing particularly well considering they're not playing their normal role. Speaking of Omega, they will have the beat, which is going to be rather crucial if they can avoid getting shattered by Reed, which has been a problem thus far.
Bomb goes sailing into White Room behind the team there. Unfortunately, no kills to be had. They are booped, though! Omega 3! Oh, they couldn't have scripted that any better. They all rotated around to the left-hand side to avoid the bomb, and Omega said thank you. Freer than a Costco sample right there for Lucio to get that big boop.
That is a Lucio's dream and a half.
Pretty much.
And now they're in one-fight territory.
Oh, Reed does get the shatter in. Hudson has the counter shatter, throws it on the bridge, slams him into the dirt right there, and they will clean up on the back of that. Kartik guarding the bridge like Gandalf himself, and they'll push forward back on the dulcitory attempt from White there. Hawk tries to stall the door, will not make it click, and Wegion goes up 1-0 in the series.
Whew, that was a crazy map. Honestly, after Night Market, it was almost impossible to tell who was in the lead.
Yeah.
Koag taking a demanding lead in the first round, but afterwards it was so back and forth. I think both rounds went to 99-99.
I don't want to see this again.
Yeah.
This is pretty crazy. I mean, you don't really usually see them set up like that. Oh, and the beat was thrown in there as well. That is the saddest beat as you just watch your entire team go scoring off the end of the map. Doesn't protect them from the fall damage, unfortunately. Well,
no. Well, they got to say hi to the koi fish before the loss. Unfortunately.
The koi. I always forget there's koi fish down there just hanging out. I must get really annoyed, though, to be honest, all the explosions and stuff, and the occasional giant German man in armor who just drops in. Really ruins the peaceful aesthetic. Oh, boy. Anyway, well, it was a close match there between the two of them to start things off. I would say if that's an indicator of things to come here, Acri, I think that was a good indicator, because you're right. Up until the bitter end, I don't think we really could have picked the winner, and I'm trying to think about what maybe we can extrapolate from that in terms of these two teams and what sort of separates them, but I'm drawing a bit of a blank.
Yeah, mechanically, they're very, very similar. They're both extremely skilled teams. I believe Koag went undefeated in the regular season. Meow was one of the top teams, and obviously beat Koag earlier in the winners bracket side of the playoffs before falling down here into the losers finals themselves. So I think the indicator as to who's going to win as the series progresses is who's going to be able to adapt and play off of their opponent's mistakes more, because this is sort of getting to the point now where both teams are playing correctly. It's more about which team makes the most mistakes as opposed to which one is actually doing the right thing.
Yeah, it is worth noting, too, that I don't think it's quite the same Koag lineup that they saw last time they met here. I do believe is it Hoopa 57 is not playing tonight, who was the off tank, and I don't know the reasoning behind that. All right, I'm just a bypasser here at the moment, but he's not playing and put up pretty good damage numbers on their last couple of maps. So Blatman kind of having to shoulder the workload there on the off tank as we get started here on Rialto. More Rein Zarya in the cards, or more Rein Diva, I should say.
That's honestly tough. Rialto is a very versatile map. They can play almost anything they want. I've been seeing a lot of Rein Diva. Yeah, for the purpose of the close hold, which I have been seeing, actually both of these teams like to play. The Rein Diva is just a little bit better, a little bit more sustainability, whereas the Zarya would have larger damage output, but if you're doing the close hold, you want to stay alive for as long as possible. Even so, they're kind of harkening back to the meta about a year ago almost now, with the McCree and the May. That you see Meow even pick on the defense. Yeah, they're going for the close hold. I would expect to see them just rush for whoever runs out of the front door, which will probably be a Reed for the time being. And then it's going to be on the DPS of Coag to really find a few picks, a few crucial picks, like the enemy supports or maybe their tanks, to kind of create that opening so they can begin to push the card.
Well, the enemy's quite literally the gate here as it just descends into utter chaos outside of the art gallery. Meow's Immortality Field, the only casualty here to start off, but a good charge in there takes Hudson down. It'll be traded out, though. Kartik rolled forward, got the kill, but the DPS there to clap back. Hawk going on a little bit of a tear, whips out the 6-shooter, gets some big picks. He'll go for Omega, too. Omega spinning around, will be brought down, and the forward hold not quite working out.
Yeah, honestly, that's exactly what you have to do if you're the Coag DPS. Bob Guy did a great job of freezing up basically everyone. Hawk lit up the kill feeds, exactly what you got to do. And they really didn't waste too much time, about 30 seconds, which is probably the bare minimum that the defense wanted to kill, but I'm sure they would have liked more.
Well, the Wegion advances once more, and they will, again, Immortality Field being used very early in these fights. Listen, going down, and Reed with the big shatter. The hammer comes down, and the kills to follow. The Reinhardt cleaning up their own mess there. And they will continue to push forward. Kartik drops in on the backside, tries to go for a cheeky pick on the May, won't find it. And they're looking at a relatively easy first point clear here as Rialto stands.
Yeah, that's honestly a pretty disgusting time bank, if I'm being honest. Going into this streets phase of second points. Obviously, all 3 points of Rialto are a little bit difficult to capture, so there's a lot of potential to wear down the time bank if you're Wegion on the defense. But this is looking pretty good, you know. Coag is going to have a lot more ability to make mistakes and kind of adapt as needed.
Well, an early control of the high ground here in the Opera House. A window does come out there from Meow, trying to just allow them to put the pressure forward. It's good Maywall there as well. And now Disruption. Conflict boiling over here on the top deck. Oh, really slowly going in favor of Wegion here. They get the kills that they need. It's a good investment of the window and the Maywall, and they will secure. That was a downtown fire strike. That was a long one.
Yeah, Hudson getting a little bit of his sniper on for the time being. I don't think Hawk was expecting that one from across the canal. But you know, it happens, whatever. They got 4 minutes, that's why they took first point so quickly, so they could make these kinds of mistakes and still be perfectly fine. Both teams have a disgusting amount of ultimates, in all honesty, so I'd expect a lot to come out.
High Noon actually being invested very early from the high ground is Kartik jobs off there, tries to go for a pick, actually isolates himself on point, which forces the commit of Meow's Immortality Field just to keep the McCree still in the fight. Plenty more ults to be used here so far, neither team really being the one to pull the trigger on what might quite likely be mutually assured destruction. Mushroom now up in the rafters, just contesting. As the Blizzard is finally dropped on point, the sound barrier comes out, there goes the Diva Bomb, Hawk fires in with the High Noon, and at the end of all of that madness, it will be Coag that continues to push.
Yeah, and again, I have to say that the shatters have just been massive, and that's kind of good reaction times from these Reinhardts, but also bad reaction time from the opposing Reinhardt to not shield it.
It's all aggro here, very, very aggro as a Blizzard and a bomb comes in. Swanky Pang's Bob gets nothing. Hudson did die early. Meow being cleaned up. There goes the other support in the form of Omega, and really just the Diva here trying to contest. Kartik comes back and pops the High Noon at basically point-blank range. Will find Blattman's Diva mech, and maybe his bot just enough time here because Hudson comes surging back onto the point in a fight that looked like it was surely won by Coag. Flips on the back of a dime.
That spawn advantage at its finest, in all honesty. That
really
High Noon was the perfect amount of stall to allow for the rest of the defense to come back. You know, Kartik lost to a baby Diva, but at the end of the day, he gets the last laugh because they held the points in, honestly, a crucial point. This is a very difficult spot to capture second point. And neither team really has a distinctive ultimate advantage. I'd expect to see the Baptiste Matrix from both sides come out. Yep, sure enough. Seeing a little bit of a
Oh.
cheeky back cap. Yep.
They'll hop the wall. They just hop the fence. They make them come back and fight them on the point. The window invested here as well. Another shatter. Reed comes charging in. Too little late. Too late to save the team from the shatter, but good enough to get one of his own and just put Hudson in the dirt. They're still fighting here. Swanky Panks loses the team on that. Kartik on top of the cart right now, firing in. Oh, they're still looking for kills, and again, what looked like a really, actually not a bad fight for Coag turns into a loss, and the Diva Bomb is invested there as well as Blackman goes for the escape and won't quite make it back over the wall.
He can't even get out. He's stuck. Oh, he is now in the corner forever.
Yeah, oh my lord, you hate to see it.
Finally get a little bit of Baby Diva on Baby Diva action there. Swanky Pants desperately trying to build up to his mech before they get back, but that stagger on Blackman's probably going to assure. And sure enough, what started off as a 5-minute time bank is now down to 60 seconds. This is exactly why Coag wanted to capture the point so quickly on first, just because they needed to. This second point can be absolutely brutal if the defense takes advantage of their ulticame and rotates everything properly.
Well, Misled Elf does have the Blizzard here, should they choose to use it. Sound Barrier being invested. Sound Barrier's going in on both sides. Blizzard will finally come out here. Might just get the Baptiste. No, Clown Dog manages to back up there and throw the window down and gets a kill on the back of it as well. Shatter coming in, though. Hudson hits another big one. Bob Guy trades. They continue to fight there, and the Blizzard coming in on Reed, or the Freeze coming in on Reed. Reed will try and survive. Now comes a Coalescence. That'll just allow them to push forward. Immortality Field destroyed almost instantaneously, yet somehow the Coalescence not the fight finisher there. And once more, Reed is frozen, and this time Hudson is there to shatter that icy sculpture of his opposite number. And now it'll be Blackman who's taken out of the mech. A high noon unleashed here by Hawk gets Omega, and they'll throw the Blizzard well, and the bodies are starting to build up on the point. The bomb comes in from Swanky Pants and gets 2. Misled Elf is still here. Bomb Guy goes down. Oh, Hawk trying their best to contest the shatter from Hudson. Hudson arrives back on the scene, or sorry, Reed arrives back on the scene and throws the shatter out. Hudson pushes forward to contest, arrives on the scene, finds his entire team dead. Oh no, what a weird and wacky fight this is. Omega tries to come forward and touch. They do have to keep their bodies on the cart. The high noon comes out again from Hawk. Second time in the fight, he gets Misled the Elf down, but Yeet in there as well, and they'll push him forward. Craziness.
Well, they might have had to take it to overtime, so really good defense on the side of Meow Wegion, but Coag finally takes second point, and they even push up a little bit aggressively to make sure they aren't getting staggered onto this little high ground ramp that the defense usually likes to hold at if they can. Hudson has another shatter, so I'd expect to see that rather soon.
Coalescence bomb. What else goes in? Hudson goes down. High Noon does come out there, and Kartik destroys Reed with it. They do have to, you know, keep the car moving, and they won't drift too far off of it. The pursuit coming there from Blackman, just trying to drive them back into the double doors. Misled Elf backpedaling here, trying to stay alive on that. May will not make it. Mushroom is there to confirm the kill, and the cart's still a-rolling here, Acri. They're not done yet.
Yeah, in all honesty, there's not too many ultimates aside from Hudson's Shadow the defense is going to have to stop this momentum. But who needs anything more than a good shatter?
Reed comes rocketing in. Hudson throws the shatter in response. Reed, of course, can't block it. Was still on the charge there. Will stay up. Now a high noon coming out. That's Hawk again with the high noon. That'll force the defenders back behind the cart. Kartik caught peeking there and is brought down. Oh, they're really just brawling here inside the building. Neither team quite yet putting it over the top, but slowly, surely, Coag is clawing this one back in. Swanky Pants knocked around, knocked down, and they will complete. But what an attacking push. That was a wild one.
Yeah, honestly, the way first point went, I would have expected there to be a much larger time bank, but Meow Wegion definitely brought it back and recomposed themselves towards the latter half of second point, and that just kind of rolled on through third point. You know, third point Rialto is probably one of the hardest points in the entire game to capture, and they did it essentially in one push.
Yeah, actually, basically, you're right. It was essentially one push. I think maybe 2 team fights there, if I missed my mark. Maybe some staggered kills in the middle of that, but yeah, that was wacky. I tell you, there's a couple of fights that I was like, oh, they've got this. This is done, and then all of a sudden, there'd be a big hero play or some ultimate would come sailing in, and they'd reset the boards, and they'd have to go back at it again. But I mean, a very convincing 3rd point attack, that's to be sure. And well, I will say too, actually, we're probably Wegion probably fortunate they burned out so much time on that 2nd point, because the attack has been quite that fast on the 3rd point, going in with a bigger time bank. That would have been a lot more grim in terms of a defense.
Yeah, definitely. We are seeing a okay, no, they're swapping. I was going to say they're on offense, so Meow Wegion can meme a little bit with their composition, but it looks like we're just going to be seeing more of the same. Exact same close hold. I've seen both of these teams do it so many times now that I'm not too shocked. It's again going to be on Kartik and Misled Elf to find those picks early on, otherwise they're just going to get stalled out. Kart's going to be wasting a lot of time to actually wall the point off. So
they walled them off! And they try to get out now and start the fight, and we'll see if they can get past that bit of misfortunate ice sculpture there to start things off. Looking for an early pick, haven't yet found it. They've got Swanky Pants frozen, but will be Mead who is caught looking by Hawk and brought down almost immediately, but then Reed will take a trip into the canals of Venice. Kartik, though, dying in the Kart's just going forward here. Misled Elf does get a kill, but again, the Kart actually got around the 1st quarter. Probably might get pushed back before they have time to recontest. And now it's Swanky Pants' turn to be staggered into oblivion.
Yeah, except now he actually has a place to go. Well, okay, I was going to say he had a place to go to jump off the edge, but I guess that's the thing too. Regardless, interesting attack there. Obviously, they tried to section everyone off, and yeah, Wegion tried to just push the cart, but at some point you do have to worry about the defense, because they were just killing your entire backline, and then you have no healers, and you can't really sustain much further, which is why the cart didn't push very far. They had really no target focus, but at the same time they did prevent the close hold.
Well, the fight now around the blue corner, they're just trying to round that corner if they can. A charge stunned again, the 2 Reinhardts synchronous in that regard, but Hawk fires in through the window and gets 2. A great play by the McCree there to take some of the bite out of this attack.
Yeah, definitely, and that's honestly what they're going to have to do. I mean, they used both support ultimates, and Coag were still struggling to take any advantage in that fight. And then, you know, a good placed High Noon, especially with Misled Elf had tossed in his Blizzard. That's exactly what they needed to just kind of reset the momentum. Of course, both Reinhardts are going to be having their shatters. You have the bomb coming in. Nothing quite yet.
Oh, speculative bomb, not really up to snuff there. Blizzard is invested, which forces a sound barrier investment on the other side. A shatter put in here as well. I do believe that was Reed who threw that out. A bomb comes in, gets stuck on a wall, so we won't be seeing that getting any kills here. A bit of a brawl around the court. Really, Blattman just trying to hold the front line there, buy a little bit of room for their fallen Reinhardt until they can kind of just reset the defense. And they will be able to here underneath the bridge. The cart slowly turning that corner. Body, of course, building up for the assault. High Noon comes out. Window comes out. Maywall goes in. Shadow coming out there as well. Might have actually been blocked. I don't think he got much out of it. But it's Omega who sends Hawk into the drink. And now Swanky Pants getting in on the action as well. And just too many blue bodies in too tight a space for Coag to really be able to do anything.
Yeah, honestly, that was just too large of a target priority from Meow Wegion, as well as they had a lot more ultimates, so they seemed a lot more willing to toss them in, whereas Coag really just used the Baptiste Matrix and tried to make it work, whereas they still had the High Noon at the time. They could have used it, decided not to. In hindsight, probably a good thing, because now they can use it to stabilize on this 2nd point. But they are going to have to take a little bit of time to stabilize for the time being. Neither team really has a huge ultimate advantage. Both Reinhardts again coming up onto their Shatter, but I'm not sure if they're going to want to use it at the time being.
Well, another battle up here in the Opera House. No culture for either team, mostly just murder. And they're not actually, I say mostly just murder, but I don't think anybody actually died until just now. Meat goes down, Omega goes down. Neither team with their Baptiste as Hawk tries to get one off on the high ground. Unfortunately, Diva is there to meet him. Both sound barriers invested in this fight as well. Diva Bomb goes up, sailing over the back end, but it's Kartik with the High Noon getting 2 and enabling the push to continue here.
Yeah, if you're Kartik, that's a trade you take every day of the week. Getting 2 for for basically giving your team a free push for most of second point. He's going to be back relatively soon. Your team still has a small ult advantage.
Windows going up again, almost synchronously right there, and neither team too discombobulated by that, but a good shatter coming in from Hudson does put Blattman flat on the back of their mech for a half second there. Won't stop this bomb from sailing up and over. Bomb gets two. Good overarching Diva bomb there, really hung in the air. Enabled them to get those picks, and they finally stopped the momentum here with 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, Wegion does have time to take their time and take second point if they're careful about it, but for the time being, this is probably going to have to be a dry push because Coag just has such a distinct ultimate advantage for the time being, especially with the High Noon and the Blizzard coming up. That's going to be very difficult to do anything about. So, oh wait, we might be seeing a little bit of antics from Wegion. Yep.
They'll use the Meow to boost half their team over. Unfortunately, they've divided their forces and they get shattered right away. Hawk throws in the High Noon there. I think was just trying to clean up a kill on the backside of the shatter from Marie. Did not find it. Blizzard now being dropped on the point there, just zoning them out slowly but surely. Omega trapped in the alley. Might actually be able to escape, but Hudson will not be so lucky. He's quite literally run over there by the Reed-Blattman combo. There is one lone man still fighting in the back line, but that act of defiance is over and done with.
Yeah, however, if you are Wegion, that's exactly what you wanted. They didn't use a single ultimate that fight, and Coag used, what, two? Yeah, two. Both of their DPS ultimates. And while Hawk is coming up onto his, for the time being, you're really only going to have Coag with their support ultimates, as opposed to Wegion, which is basically going to have all six at some point in this upcoming fight. So that's going to be rather big for them.
Well, the Opera House high ground already taken. That'll prompt a High Noon in here from Kartik. Kartik looking for a target, won't find. Oh, does find the mech, so Blattman is out. Bomb sails in over the top as well, but Misled Elf is basically just cleaning up kills. Misled does go down, but Kartik is there to finish off the survivors, and they will complete the second point and push on to the third.
This will be difficult, though, because you can't always have a third-point push like Coag did, where they just kind of roll on through. The card never stops. Obviously, it was brought to overtime. But third-point Rialto, again, is one of the hardest points in the entire game to capture. So, despite any momentum Wegion might have, they're going to have to play very clean and concise to take this.
Window comes out, shatter! Cutting that window short. The sound barrier was invested in there, and I think did a lot of work to protect them for the majority of the damage that came in. Hawk does get the DMAC bomb, goes sailing back in. It'll be handily shielded there by Hudson, and the push will continue. They've actually almost managed to trap Blattman looking, but Blattman will escape and will back up. Now trying a different angle of attack is Hudson, but it's Mushroom who goes down early on to Misled Elf. They'll take Blattman out of the mech as well. Now the High Noon coming in on the other side, looking for something. Kartik doesn't need anything. They're nearly there. The Maywall does come up. You'll see Blattman switching over to the ball just for the contest. The sound barrier is thrown in by Mushroom. Mushroom smacked into the dirt. Will manage to survive for about half a second after that as the Blizzard is unleashed on the point and just echoes that, or ushers that in with 1 minute and 31 seconds left on the clock.
You know, when I say that third point Rialto is one of the hardest points to capture, I normally don't expect two pushes so decisive to happen back to back, but these teams are just really good at attacking, apparently.
It's all that aggro. They're just aggro. They do quite like their pushes, I will admit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'll stand with you on this one, Agri. It does not usually look that easy, right? It is normally a much harder fight, and I think part of it too has to do with the way that these fights are kind of ending around that second point, right there at the bitter end. Kind of everybody gets a little sort of runs the boards, panic sort of sets in. You got to go back and circle the wagons and what have you. And sometimes it's hard for teams to play out of that mentality of kind of we have to fall back when that second point does get dropped.
Yeah, especially because that's usually going to be on either the main tank or the main support, whoever the main shot caller is, to sort of call that disengage, the hard reset, say, okay, we can have a good defense on third points. So that's really just an organizational thing. Somewhat surprisingly, we're having yet another close hold. It can work wonders, especially when a time bank is so low, but at this point, every meter is adding to the win condition, so it might even have been worth it for them to hold a little bit further back, but we'll have to see. No, only a minute on the clock. If they can play this defense right, then maybe they win that much easier.
Indeed. Well, again, right up there at the doors, and this time they actually probably want to kill someone in the midst of all this if they can manage it, but he loses the Immortality Field. Of course, the Immortality Field's being thrown out to begin with, and Hawk does die early on this time. A good pick. Kartik, unfortunately, is traded back out, and Hawk will be back on the team. But more! Oh, Reed! Shatters Reed! Charges Reed! Takes Hudson down. Mushroom got credited with both of those kills right there, but I think it was Hudson who did a lot of the heavy lifting on that one, and they will break the far hold, and they will push forward.
This upcoming fight is going to be, honestly, determined a lot by the Baptistes, because both essentially have their ultimates. No one else is particularly close. Hudson might be coming up onto a Shatter soonish, but they need to get to the enemy to actually have him build up that Shatter, whereas the Baptiste Matrix are going to be out right about now, yep.
Yep, both windows coming out for the Cathedral folks. There's windows all over the place, but it's Maid who gets slammed into the dirt early on. Misled Elf, though, Swanky Pants and Kartik. Kartik gets 2! And that, I think, should be more than enough for them to clear the point. Kartik throws the High Noon in just to make sure. They barely even need it.
Yep, well, despite a really good early window from Clown Dog there, and actually Reed found a nice fire strike onto someone on Meow Wegion. I think it might even be Maid or Omega. Hudson did a really great job of hugging that wall, just getting a little bit closer, a few hammer swings, and that's all he needed for the Shatter, and that essentially closed out that round, which, good push, but not unbeatable, especially with such a small time bank. If Coag can have a similar defense like Meow Wegion just had, where they waste so much time in the first few meters of the push, then they still have a decent chance of winning this. I don't know if they can play the far hold that I would have expected Meow Wegion to play originally, because then it's
pretty risky. Yeah, definitely would be risky, and it doesn't necessarily look like they're going to go for it. Maybe a bit of a debate. Reed kind of looked like he wanted to. He was walking towards the door like, all right, everybody follow me, but they'll back up there. And
so there are some advantages and disadvantages to playing like this, especially when the box of victory is literally right behind them. Of course, the disadvantage being they have one fight, period. You know, if they die here, that's it. But it's going to be a lot more stable. It's going to be harder for the offense to find picks as long as Coag are playing carefully. They're playing their angles and not allowing themselves to get picked off by someone like Kartik or any icicles from Misled Elf.
Well, the wall comes up early on. Wall is actually on both sides right there, trying to section somebody off, but nobody dying yet. Clown Dog, first casualty. Omega takes Reed down then shortly thereafter, and I think they should have that pretty much polished off right there, and they will continue pushing the cart forward towards the box of victory, and Hawk, well, he gets one. Marks for bravery, but I don't think anybody's going to be able to contest this. That is that done.
Yeah, honestly, if they wanted to hold right there, I almost would have expected Coag to not play the Brawl, possibly play like a double shield or something up onto the high ground, but that's neither here nor there, because that didn't happen.
Ah, well, counterfactual in it. What if is the big question right there. What if? Reed with the Mata Shatter right there, and Shatters, like we said, were fast and furious between these two Reinhardts. They don't quite block them very often, but Lord, do they hit them on the other side. It is the truth of the matter. And you know, the other ult that actually is getting quite a bit of play like that actually is the High Noons. I feel like have been surprisingly effective so far in this match.
Yeah, both Hawk and Kartik have just been pumping in damage left and right. I think it might be somewhat due to the Reinhardts being a bit averse to using their shield, but also they're both finding these really odd angles that you normally wouldn't expect a McCree to take, and it's just working for them. They're hitting their shots. They're using the High Noon sort of mid-fight, possibly like towards the later end of the fight, and it's creating these like awkward times where everyone's already used their resources. They don't really have anything else to deal with the High Noon from, you know, Narnia, and then they just end up getting a 2k or 3k. So I think that's been rather interesting to watch.
Yeah, you're right. It's usually like a suicide ult when you pop the high noon, right? You don't generally expect to be able to get too much out of it unless you go on one of these sort of crazy, let me flank all the way behind the enemy team, pop out of nowhere and get my picks or what have you. And I mean, we've seen some effort to shut down high noons, but it's not been a lot. And you're right, it might have something to do with the general kind of desire to swing as opposed to the other S word, the shield right there when we're up in close. Let what have you. But again, I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves, Zachary, another close map. I mean, actually relatively close. Both teams completed, both had really good 3rd-point pushes. I don't know if anybody came out of that necessarily looking spectacularly head and shoulders above the other.
Oh yeah, definitely not. In fact, even to the credit of both Hudson and Reed, they were starting to block shatters, but ironically, they're blocking shatters at about the same rate now, which I'd say is like maybe 1 in every 3 shatters. So they're still just neck and neck. They're both reading each other really well, and it's really coming down to these very minute mistakes or like playmaking that individuals are coming up with on these teams in the final hour. It almost feels like every single time to just push them into that tiny bit of the lead in the series.
It did kind of feel like that, especially on those 2nd-point fights in both attacks, right? It would kind of be they'd be losing out quite badly, and then all of a sudden the cavalry was there, whether it be Reinhardt comes charging it with a shatter or a weird diva bomb or a high noon. But I mean, at the moment it is 2-0 for the Wegion, if I remember correctly. I'm not very good at math, so I don't want to get it wrong, but it is 2-0 for Wegion here. So Coag, back-footed, right? It is a best of 3 series. This will be match point. I feel a bit badly for Coag, honestly, because I feel like Coag has done well. I mean, they've played well. They've played up to the scratch of their opponents, just not quite well enough. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's that little gap that matters, doesn't it, at the end?
Yeah, I mean, we are in the second to last match of this entire season. This is right. The losers finals of playoffs. The winner of this goes on to the grand finals to face Storybook Villains. So, if Meow Wegion just has that little bit of extra oomph to their play that's putting them in the lead thus far, and they are in match point right now, then, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. Coag still has plenty of time. I've seen reverse sweeps in these playoffs previously, but we'll have to see if Coag can kind of pull themselves together just a tiny bit more, clean up their play, that seemingly minuscule amount, and punish Meow Wegion, set up plays of their own. Who knows? They're very close to winning these maps, though.
Yeah, just a little bit there. And yeah, I think that we, if there was going to be a reverse sweep, I think we're in territory where one might occur. Coag probably could just push a foot over the line and wrench this one back and see if they can possibly take it over to, the next map and a Mac 5 after that. And we're just waiting right now for the ready up for the teams, we should be saying. As much as it sounds like Ackley and I just want to fill the airwaves with the sound of our voices, we do have a reason for this, Phil. It's not just pure podcast value, as it were. I say that, and then the ult commits from these teams have been fast and furious, right? Like we've not seen the thing is, I feel like we've seen fast and furious ult commits. I don't know that we've necessarily seen super sensible ult combinations. I don't know if you'll go with me on that one there, Acri, but I feel like only a couple of times have we seen ults kind of released synchronously meant to do something. More it's just like, oh, we have shatter, bang that in, or we have bomb, like get it out there. I don't know though if I'm on the right track with that.
I think you're right. For the most part, I've seen like maybe one bomb shatter combo or like a blizzard high noon, but for the most part, these players are just kind of like using them willy-nilly. At the same time, there is some merit to that because the faster you use your ult, the faster you can build a new one.
Right.
But they're sort of missing that next step, which is the coordination side of things. So that's probably just like a shot calling thing. That's very min-maxy though. I mean, these teams are performing at a incredibly high level, in all honesty.
They are, yeah, they are. You're correct. But min-maxing, it's the fodder for filling time. It's what we got to get into here, the nitty gritty. Like some amped up D&D player trying to make the best character, we got to min-max to the max. But we look here ahead to the next map, and it does appear that it will be Hollywood. I'm assuming that call is legit, not somebody in the chat trying to debate us because they've already switched over to the map type. How do you feel about that as kind of Coag's desperation pick here, all on the line?
I think if they've been out-brawled, which so far they have been, Wegion has just edged out that tiny bit in Brawl. Hollywood is probably their best bet. It's just going to be, especially on second point, and a little bit on first point, it's going to give Coag the ability to play the high ground a little bit more, which Brawl historically has a tough time playing into. They can get a little bit funky with it. You know, they can play the Orisa or the Sigma if they want. They can play the double bubble. They can play things that aren't necessarily this Reinhardt Diva Brawl. Ironically, it looks like they're only switching out the off-tank Blatman for the Zarya as opposed to the Diva, but otherwise looks the exact same. Not entirely sure if they're going to try to approach this point in a different way. You know, there are a few other rotations they can do other than just playing it up main.
Yep.
But for the time being, it looks like they could just kind of run it down main. They're going to have a lot more damage, that's for sure.
Run it up the guts. Straight in. Straight in. We'll see if it works out for them. Everything to play for here. Wegion looking to march forward into the grand finals and get a big win for the Wempire. I assume that Wegion, you know, it implies the existence of a Wempire, so I'm going to come Meow Wempire, so I'll go with it. They'll brawl right at the door, though, and of course, the exchange of May walls, the traditional gift-giving at the beginning of the brawl, and neither team really actually doing too much with their May walls. They'll all just kind of rotate around. The rotate actually coming up to the high ground here for the... Totally blanked on a name there, and I feel terrible, but it's okay. They'll come pushing down the red stairs instead. I was going to call them red team, but that seems a bit too halo. Reed going in here for the attack. Coag, there it is, trying their best to make something come out of this. And, they get a Diva mech in the equation. They'll lose Mushroom, who has actually been dealing a not inconsiderate amount of damage there on that Lucio, but they'll clean Hudson up here as well, and it looks like their brawl might have triumphed here, Acronator, for the first time in a little bit.
Yeah, they had a really good amount of focus fire onto Swanky Pants there. He got D-Mech almost immediately once he pushed forward, and that's really what you have to do in the current meta, and actually, honestly, for the past 8 months, it almost feels like, the off-tank has been probably the most consequential role in the entire game. If you can take out the off-tank early, then you're probably going to win the fight, just because they're in charge of protecting the rest of the team in these more recent compositions and metas that we've been seeing. So Swanky Blatman should be one of the primary targets, and by far the most valuable target for the time being, especially on this Diva. Speaking of which, you can see the ultimate difference between Blatman and Swanky, so Swanky's going to have to wait a little while to use his bomb and any sort of coordination with the rest of his team, whereas Blatman already has it. I like this high ground take, a little bit of a tightrope act.
Battle in the sky right here, all fighting over the bridge. The Diva Bomb comes sailing in, Immortality Field, there comes Meow up. He will actually invest the window here on the high ground. Why not try and hold on to that? Where else are windows supposed to be except where there are good scenic views? And I guess Clown Dog feels the same way, but it's Meow will clap Clown Dog right out of the game there, and kind of a last couple of shots through the window while it still exists, and this is a wild fight. They are all over the place here as the sound barrier has just gotten off there by Mushroom to try and counteract the worst effects of that blizzard. Reed's body goes stealing into the air, trying to set a record there for German spaceflight towards the end of that, but now they will come back here looking for some sort of target. Misled Elf just drops on, goes into ice block mode and tries to stall it out. Misled Elf goes down, and I do appreciate... Oh no, I thought that was seriously in the chat was about something else, but it's not.
Looks like Swanky might be having a bit of lag issues, but nothing we can do about that.
Very happy.
In the meantime, both of these teams are relatively even coming into this next fight in terms of resources. I'd expect to see probably the Shatter from Hudson as well as the Blizzard from Bob Guy. Actually, they're just walling off Wegion, so they can't aggress where they wanted to originally.
Speaking of walls, there's a wall on the cart now. That'll slow progress down just a little bit. Hawk peeks over the top and gets a headshot there with the High Noon, and the Diva Bomb is thrown in. Both of the Maze and Ice Block form there on the cart, but it's a Shatter from Hudson. Comes roaring out of the county jail and dies almost immediately.
This has honestly been a blisteringly fast take first and second for Coag. This is exactly what they need to do as well. They need to make that statement. Probably going to have Misled Elf getting staggered here, unless no, the rest of the team. Actually, Meow did a great peel there for their May to make sure they could get out alive. That was rather good. In the meantime, though, again, neither of these teams have too much of an advantage in terms of ultimates or resources, so it's really going to be on whoever can get a little bit creative with their resources. Like that.
Like that, yeah. Meow comes in, Immortality Field was there as well. Kartik, high noon. Kartik still waiting to see if that high noon will pay off. Window comes out from the other direction now as Kartik's high noon ends with his dad's a good shatter there as well. Diva Bomb is actually blocked by a Meow, but that doesn't matter. Reed is there with the hammer. The rest of the team will follow their Reinhardt in, and they will clean up and push this corner with 3 minutes and 40-something seconds on the clock.
Crucially, both of Coag's CPS are going to be coming up onto their ultimates rather soon, and High Noon and Blizzard are both incredibly good at clearing off the point for this final push. Hollywood third isn't exactly as hard as Rialto, but it is a little bit staggery for the defense, so having the High Noon and the Blizzard is going to be rather crucial to push it in that final couple meters.
Wall up, Reed down. Reed really got caught out there and basically charged back into the fight instead of trying to get back around that wall, and the rest of the kills kind of just followed in after the death of the team leader right there, at least for that fight, and Reed is back and they will reset.
Yeah, in all honesty, that's fine for the most part. You have such a good time bank right now for Coag that they can afford to lose a few fights and still capture at the end of the day. They just need to capture all 3 points. They can worry about time bank afterwards. But they are going to have to worry about how quickly they take this, because if they wait too long, then the defense are going to start to build up some of their ultimates. Hudson notably just got his shatter.
Wall is coming up again. Reed not as fussed by it that time at all. Had a good out route. His team got back to him. Window comes in. Shatter goes out. Bob Guy is brought down. Immortality Field committed there to keep the May in the fight. Now both Reinhardt's charging in. Blattman gets caught in the cubby there on the right-hand side and is taken out of the mech. Shatter on the other end now. It somehow won't get Kartik. Kartik will get 2 with the High Noon as the Blizzard comes in. Plenty of bodies frozen in the midst of that Blizzard, but can they follow up on it? Diva Bomb unleashed at almost point-blank range, shut down by the Meow. Quick thinking action there by Bob Guy. Keeps his scraps of his team in this fight, but Bob Guy is just focused down to the back line. Omega claims the kill there. Blattman now kind of alone is getting some healing support. Blattman tries to disengage, gets blocked by the wall. This fight is still going. They basically got their reinforcements back in, and Coag now will continue to push. Hudson backing up here, trying to secure the backside of the cart. The shield is up the entire time. Hudson now looking at his team in confusion. So they'll kind of wait here for a second, Acri.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to be watching Blattman into this upcoming fight, because if Misled Elf can get this Blizzard off like that, it's going to be difficult to push in for the time being.
Oh, Blizzard comes in. High Noon was used right there. They poke a hole in the May wall. Unfortunately, they don't get any hills. Hawk follows up with just a regular old shot from the gun there, but Clown Dog 500 was caught looking by Swanky Pants up on some boxes, will be sent into a box himself, and they will reset again. A pine box. I feel like this is a very Western movie term.
Well, we are in
Hollywood.
Previous point. So.
Well, we get space now, but that's all right.
We were in the Old West. A little bit of an interesting rotation here from Coag. They don't have too much time to to really dilly-dally around too much. The cart is moving back just a little bit, and the defense is aware of the rotation up onto the high ground, so not sure what they're going to do here.
Window does go up there. They'll actually continue their rotation. That time bank is, as Acri said, clicking down by the minute. 39 seconds left on the clock, and they are basically flipping the sides here. The old chestnut there in Overwatch as the Diva Bomb comes sailing over the top and finds, well, basically nothing. It would have been well placed if the enemy team had not decided that it would be better to hold the other side of the cart. Now they'll push back in from the defender spawn. Hudson actually in serious danger right there for a second. Loses the shield, but it's Swanky Pants who gets frozen. Big shot! Whoa! Catches the charging Reinhardt out. Hudson goes in. A High Noon comes out here as well from Kartik. Doesn't even need it. His team is cleaning up without it. The window on the other side. The High Noon comes out from Hawk, but Hawk dies almost instantaneously. Bomb invested, sound barrier invested, but they've done all that they needed to do. It'll just be desperation touches here from Coag, and Coag's blistering pace to spike. Reed hitting a big shatter. Does not seem to pay off here. Oh, no, I say that. And Bob Guy tries to drop it on the May as it's sent to the sky right there. May back alive, throws the Blizzard in. It gets eaten by Swanky Pants. That could have been a deciding factor, but it will not be decisive at all. Mushroom there, just trying to keep it alive. It's basically just staggers at this point in time. Blattman smashed down on top of the cart by Hudson, and they will end right there. And what looked good looked a little bad there at the end.
Yeah, not a terrible push, but I'm sure they would have liked to capture all 3 points. Hollywood is not impossible as opposed to Rialto, which is usually considered harder to capture all 3 points. So the win condition is now set. Either Meow Wegion pushes the cart to the yellow box of victory, which is not yet painted on the ground, or they don't, and this series is brought out to a map 4. Of course, Meow Wegion 1 point away from earning their ticket to the grand finals. So they're going to be getting a little bit hungry as this map goes on, I would suspect.
Yep. Dig deep, find your, tap your inner strength, right? All you have to do is get it through 2.5 points or 2 3/4 of points here on Hollywood. Not insurmountable. We'll put it at that. It's definitely doable. And I think they could do it. I don't know. I just Coag just not quite able to make it stick, and it's not through lack of trying because they are fighting their hearts out here for us, but they just haven't. It just hasn't broken their way for a lot of these engagements.
Yeah, for the most part, on this defense, they're just gonna have to be looking to wear down the clock. You have to have a better, a better first point defense than what Wegion had, because they lost in basically a fight and a half, almost. And if they can, stall this out to even like a minute left on the time bank, going into second point, that's where the clock really starts to run down usually. And then third point, if they can get it very low, then all the better. So this is really going to be a slow war of attrition for Coag.
Well, the Wegion comes surging in, and it's Bob Guy who dies first. Coag losing a key piece of their defense early on. Immortality Field comes out, and Reed is smacked down in the midst of the chaos, driven into the car bodily by his opponent's hammer. And wow, we were just saying that's not what should happen. And
yeah. Well, first point is usually not that easy to take, but again, both of these teams have proven that they're more familiar with the offense, I guess we can say.
The attack, always the attack.
The W key is Overwatch player's strongest tool, apparently, as we have Kartik basically already to his high noon, Hudson basically his shatter, although that one's going to be a bit difficult to find with such verticality on this second point. Kartik probably going to have a bit of an easier time, whereas the defense doesn't really have anything to work with. They're going to have to play these fights dry, and that's not exactly easy when you're the defense. You have to do something. You have to win these fights with really strong block.
Yeah, well, they will drop. Oh, they will drop down on the high ground and come in. The shatter does come out there. The Immortality Field, I think, cancel out the worst of that shatter, which is good because Meow will go down. High noon comes in from Kartik, gets 2. McCree striking big and striking early, a constant aspect of this series so far. Really, it's just Kartik continuing to sweep the deck. Hawk comes in and gets 1 sort of petulant pick on the back end, but certainly not enough to slow things down.
No, however, that does start to get the momentum back in the defense's favor. They're starting to build up some of their ultimates. They're going to be able to slow this down a little bit more. Mind you, there's still 4 minutes and 30 seconds for second point, so they're going to have to play this very carefully and cycle their ultimates from here on out, because they have to keep that advantage, if nothing else. Weird rotation from the defense.
Yeah, might want to fight. Might want to stop the cart moving. Any minute now, they're going to engage, and sure enough, Blattman pops over the top and drops some missiles in, and they went up to the high ground, and they came right down off the high ground. Good shatter in there from Hudson. Hudson tries to follow it up, won't make it work. Kartik takes out their opposite number. It's a good window in here as well. The Fire Strike does come sailing through it from Reed, won't find anyone. Sound Barrier invested here by Omega will keep things going. Blizzard comes in, Bomb on the other side. Bomb gets nothing. This Blizzard has done great work for them, though. It's just given them the room they needed to knock down these tanks. And now Omega is the last one left alive, though I say that. Kartik is stuck in the jail, comes out in full Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid fashion, and, well, ends the same way.
That's pretty much exactly what the defense needed as well. They really only used the Shatter and the Blizzard. They have basically 4 ultimates coming up. I believe Clown Dog might have used the Matrix. If he did, then built it up almost immediately thereafter. So that's, again, exactly what the defense needs. They just need to keep winning off of 1 or 2 ultimates per fight. And for the time being, that's going to be relatively possible, especially with things like High Noon and the Matrix online.
Well, it's another Cirque du Soleil battle up here on the high wire between the 2 buildings. No real casualties. Even as I say that, the casualties will start to stack up. The aggression comes out almost immediately there on the top deck from Coag, and they will clean up some really nice kills here. Missed Elf, the last one left alive, and ooh, I was a bit worried there. I thought I heard the blizzard noise, and I was like, no, don't do that. But it wasn't. It was a debate.
Do have Swanky? Yep.
Oh no,
no. Yep, that's just more ult charge. That actually
that's just more ult charge.
that actually gave Reed his shatter the final few. So that's exactly what the offense did not want. And this is pretty good. The defense Coag took out about 2 minutes off the clock. They'd still probably like to take off the remaining 2:30. But you know, one fight at a time. About 30-45 seconds each time, or I guess a minute, depending on how fast Wegion are going at this rate. I think they're starting to slow down.
I was laughing there because Swanky Pants literally stopped running in time for the chat to say stop. He didn't want to get bullied anymore. And that was a rotate and a half right there. The old switcheroo dropped to low ground. Shatter comes out from Reed. Reed gets the charge in, but the blizzard now thrown to great effect. Reed is frozen there. The shatter from Hudson following it up. Diva Bomb coming in there gets nothing. Now Hawk with the high noon on the far backside. Unfortunately, that ult won't turn up trumps either. No, I say that. Swanky Pank is taken out of mech right there. Swanky Pants now set to the graveyard, back to the respawn room. The fight's still going here. They're not giving up ground on this point. Doing a great job is Coag of just digging their heels in. Window comes out. High noon going into that window. He's actually just rotated around the side of it. And Cloud Dog 500 gets caught by a hair right there and will go down. And now lots of kills stacking up. The sound barrier invested here in Kartik, continuing to fire away. There is a McCree up on the high ground. Hawk jumps in, does manage to take out Mayit, but he won't do enough to stop things, so they need to be careful they don't get caught in rotation here, Acri.
I think that's the second time in a row that Hawk has jumped from the high ground and taken out specifically Mayit. So just funny thing there. Got a little bit of a staggered pick there up off of reading at the bad spawn. Unfortunate, but they have about 2 minutes remaining. The defense has enough time. They have some resources coming online. This is not the time to panic. In fact, if they panic and they start staggering, they're probably going to lose this. But they have a lot of potential to hold this, especially in this upcoming fight. You know, Mislet does have the blizzard, but Blatman, if he can eat that blizzard, then that probably is going to win the fight, assuming they don't, you know, get caught out by the bomb or the shatter as well, which would be equally as tragic, but not as common.
Okay. The cart is nearly there. The blizzard does come down. It is not eaten. Now again, tries that AC trick one more time. Best Assassin's Creed impersonation. Misled Elf does die. The bomb does come in. Clown Dog basically watches it go off and dies as a result. They're still fighting here. They just have to hold the line. But again, the kill's starting to stack up from Meow, Legion, and Wegion will just walk that one in. No. Wegion will take the win and punch their ticket to the grand finals there on the back end of that Hollywood attack.
Ooh, beautiful boop at the very last moment there from Omega to get Mushroom up in the air. Couldn't finish the beat, and also off the points. If he had gotten that off, there's a decent chance that some stall might have come in, and maybe we would have been seeing more fights come in, but not the case. Kartik been on fire this entire series. He's been a menace, and a very unorthodox style of McCree play as well. Very flanky, as opposed to frontlining.
Yeah, it definitely going for those off angles and making them pay for it. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, it is Meow Wegion 3, unfortunately Coag 0, and Meow Wegion are heading forward to that grand finals appearance. And well, Acronator, any sort of final thoughts there to summarize all of the chaotic action we have seen this evening?
I think Coag can definitely be proud of their season. I believe they went undefeated again in the regular season, despite being brought down to the losers bracket in the first place by Meow Wegion. They tore their way all the way up to the losers finals, and even though they came up short, this was a really good match from them. I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of throughout the entire season.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. And well, I guess we should probably mention, is there a player of the match? I have an idea. Personally, I will start things off by I think it's Kartik. Kartik did spectacular job on that McCree, right? We were talking about him right there at the end of the map, but that DPS was everywhere, omnipresent, getting the picks that his team needed, trading out, getting big high noons, just all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. For me to have to either be Kartik or Omega just because he was playing that off role to fill in for the rest of
Yep.
his team.
You're right. He was playing the off role. They did win that, of course, with that ringer in the form of Mayit. So a well-earned victory for them. And well, that will do it here tonight for us on Owlet, ladies and gentlemen. Next weekend, it will be the grand finals. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Corbeck, joined by Acronator. Thank you to Joey, handling our production throughout all of that. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. And of course, as always, from all of us here at Owlet, thank you for watching and have a wonderful evening.
My best friend to 23, she left her body.